I had a conversation with a friend yesterday, and he said something that absolutely rocked my world. He said, you know in 1 Corinthians where it talks about love, it says love is patient, it is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, all that good stuff. He said, well, the Bible says that God is love. So if you replace the word love with God, that describes his character.
Oh no. Who's gonna break it to her?
God is patient.
Not remotely true. You only have to get to Genesis 3 to realize that this is completely false. The first people who didn't know right from wrong, didn't know a single thing, they're basically babies, committed one sin, and God reacted so harshly that all the rest of humanity was cursed. The earth was cursed. Even animals are cursed. And not only that, now we have the sin nature and original sin, which dictates that everybody's starting point upon being born is hell. God literally said, because you guys sinned, everybody goes to hell unless for some reason you believe in this weird blood sacrifice where I impregnated my own mother to give birth to myself so I can sacrifice myself to satisfy my own bloodlust.
God is kind.
Listen, I know that words have no meaning to Christians, but God is certainly not kind. God says that you can own slaves in Leviticus 25 and Exodus 21. In Numbers 31, God distributed little virgin girls that were kidnapped in war as war booty. In Deuteronomy 20, he says that you can kidnap women and children in war and they become your war booty. In Deuteronomy 21, God says that if you see a hottie toddy among your captives, you can just go take her and make her to be your wife. In 2 Samuel 24, God killed 70,000 random Israelites because David sinned by numbering the Israelites. In 2 Samuel 12, God literally killed the child born to Bathsheba and David, not because the child did anything wrong, but because David sinned. Not only that, he had 10 of David's wives sexually assaulted for David's sin. And the New Testament's not much better. Jesus calls the Syrophoenician woman a dog, obviously a racial slur in Luke chapter 19. When he's giving a parable about his second coming, he says, those who didn't want him to be king over them, bring them before my very presence and slaughter them before me. He also says in Mark chapter 7 that the Pharisees should have been keeping the law of Moses, especially the law of executing the child that curses their mother and father.
He does not envy, he does not boast.
God is absolutely envious and or jealous and boastful. The Greek word used in 1 Corinthians 13 is zalao, and this is actually the exact word used in the Greek Septuagint of the Old Testament to describe God. For example, in Exodus 25, he says, I, the Lord, your God, am a jealous God. The exact same word in Greek. Exodus 34:14 is, you shall worship no other God, because the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Not only is God envious and jealous, his name, his absolute identity is envious and jealousy. And nobody is more boastful in the Bible than God. It says in Proverbs number 1, the very first one, verse 26, I also will laugh at your calamity, and I will mock you when panic strikes you. Isaiah 46:9, he says, I am God, there is no one even like me. In Deuteronomy 28:63, it says, just as the Lord took delight in making you prosperous and numerous, so the Lord will take delight in bringing you to ruin and destruction. He mocks you to your face as the calamity is upon you.
God is not self-seeking.
God is absolutely self-seeking. Even as early as Exodus, it's apparent that this God will do anything to find vainglory for himself. When he talks in Exodus 10 about why he has to harden Pharaoh's heart and prolong all the suffering and then kill all of the firstborn, he says, so that you may tell your children and your grandchildren how I made fools of the Egyptians and what signs I have done among them, so that you may know that I am the Lord. He's bragging about killing a bunch of mortals, probably a lot of them babies, just so people can clap and be like, oh, how powerful is our God. And the very first commandment he gives them is to not have any other gods before him. His literal first goal is to gain glory and worship for himself. That's the definition of self-seeking.
He is not easily angered.
God's fuse is literally 0.5 millimeter long. It says in Psalm 2, he will be angry and you will perish in the way, for his wrath is quickly kindled. In 2 Samuel chapter 6, verse 7, there's a guy named Uzziah who reached out to steady the ark because he was afraid that the ark, while it was moving, was going to fall and perhaps go on the ground and get dirtied, he reached out to study the ark, and God smote him dead on the spot. In Numbers chapter 11, the people are literally suffering out in the heat of the desert. And it says, when the people complained in the hearing of the Lord about their misfortunes, the Lord heard it, and his anger was kindled. Then a fire of the Lord burned against them and consumed some of the outer lying parts of the camp. God was so mad that they complained about being in the actual desert that he sent a fire to consume them.
God always hopes and he always perseveres.
Literally not true. When he doesn't get what he wants, he just wipes people out and starts over again. The entire flood, he was so upset that humans didn't do what he wanted them to do that he wiped them all out and started over again. Which is weird, because if he's all-knowing, he should have known that that was going to happen to begin with. You can't persevere with your creation while you're wiping them out. Genocide is the middle name of God.
God never fails.
The Bible God is literally a fail factory. That's all he does is fail. He failed so hard that the vast majority of all creation will end up in hell by his own admission. He failed so hard in even convincing his own people to follow him that he had to punish them with horrors like causing them to eat the flesh of their own sons and daughters. He was such a failure, he had to come to earth himself and then kill himself.
Do you know my God?
Yeah, I do, because I actually read the book. Unlike you, you should try reading the book. The God you believe in is not the God inside of the book that you claim is true.